Talk a little bit about Guantanamo. The vice president came out very hard against the Obama administration and its policies. He said it would be a mistake to close Guantanamo. Others have said it would actually pose a danger to this country if these people are brought back. Do you think Guantanamo should be closed, John?
Yes, I felt Guantanamo should be closed for the past 6 years, and I lobbied and presented reasons to President Bush. And Mr. Cheney is not only disagreeing with President Obama's policy, he's disagreeing with President Bush's policy. President Bush stated repeatedly to international audiences and to the country that he wanted to close Guantanamo. The problem he had was he couldn't get all the pieces together. Secretary Rice, Secretary of State Rice, and Secretary of Defense Gates had come forward with plans, but the plans ran into difficulties with the Department of Justice and others. So it is a complex problem, and President Bush wasn't able to close Guantanamo on his watch. And President Obama came in saying he would close Guantanamo, and he has run into some of those same sorts of problems. So I think we need to kind of take the heat out of this issue. I think President Obama didn't handle it very well by going up to the Congress and asking for $80 million without a plan, and by, frankly, giving enough time to opponents of it to marshal their forces as to why we shouldn't do this. But Guantanamo has caused us a great deal of trouble throughout the world. And Mr. Cheney the other day said, well, we're doing it to satisfy European intellectuals or something like that. No, we're doing it to reassure Europeans, Muslims, Arabs, all the people around the world that we are a nation of law. It isn't so much Guantanamo, it's the people at Guantanamo. How do we deal with them? We can't keep them locked up forever. This business is about making the country less safe by bringing these people to our prison system. We've got 2 million people in jail in America, the highest incarceration rate in the world. And they all had lawyers, they all had access to the writ of habeas corpus, and they're all in jail. And I don't know, Bob, if you've ever seen some of these prison reality shows on television where they show you what a super lockup is. I'm not terribly worried about one of these guys going to a super lockup and being kept locked up.
So you think they can be brought here and kept safely without posing any danger?
And I think that should have been done immediately and not start looking for $80 million to build prisons. Look, we're talking about roughly 240. The hardcore problem is that there are some of them that you really do not have cold evidence on that you could put before an Article III court. That's the problem that President Bush struggled with. It's the problem that President Obama is struggling with. We may have to find new legislation or have the Congress assist us with this, but let's get it into our system of laws with an executive and a legislative and a judicial branch all working it together.
Have you talked to President Obama about this?
Yes.
You have? And what have you talked to him about?
I prefer to. The views I've just expressed to you, President Obama has heard from me.
He has heard from you on this.
I have been
Do
public,
you think that he can get the Congress to go with him on this? I'm told there are people like Lindsey Graham and maybe even John McCain who might be willing to help him with this, but only if he presents a detailed plan.
I think that's the message that came out of Congress. We can't give you $80 million. There's a lot of internal home resistance to bringing these people into the country. So you come forward with a plan that makes some sense, and you tell us how you're going to resolve all of these cases, and do it in a way that we can support, and then maybe we can move forward. So I think it was premature to ask for the money. It was premature to say we're going to give it a year to work out, but then immediately ask for the money for something. John McCain has been a strong supporter from the very beginning of closing Guantanamo. But in recent days, he's been saying, you know, I haven't moved off that point, but you got to give us a plan. This has become very, very political. And so I think after we have had these dueling speeches and the controversy of recent days, things will settle down and the president can go off and spend some time with his staff thinking it through all the way and coming up with a plan, just as he said he would do in the speech.
All right.
And one point I have to make, it really comes out of some things that have been written lately, and that is, in the first year after 9/11, we did everything we could to stop the possibility of another 9/11. We put in place the Patriot Act. We used enhanced interrogation techniques. I shut down, for the most part, the visa system until we could fix it. But after about a year and a half, when it looked like things were relatively secure and we were doing a better job, then we started to relax the visa system once we fixed it, because we can't keep moving in that direction with putting people in jail forever without resolving their cases or not letting people come to our country. So it was natural to start shifting back to our more normal ways of doing business and dealing with the rest of the world after we had achieved a level of security. And we are more secure. I mean, my Republican friends sort of get mad when I say we need government. People want effective, responsible government.